Hey everybody, welcome to tonight's Fireside Chat. So the question is tonight, how do we sustain? We have 7 billion people in this world. How do we continue? Large cities will never go away, but they still contain small communities, don't they? We now have the technology to not only further the small community, but also bring them into a phase they've never known. There's a couple boroughs in New York that are already doing it, if we want to. It's possible to grow 3,000 pounds of food on 1/10 of an acre. Now, what do you think that happens if we expand that into warehouse production? How do we store food? You know, like I said before, wheat, you had a choice. Eat it or don't. That's where the gluten sensitivity comes from. We don't know if we can handle it or not because it's all we had. For 5,000 years, we had wheat, and that's it. What else stores as a winter crop? Potatoes and Swedes, also known as rutabagas, the cross being the turnip. So, but you got to remember, you know, potatoes didn't come to the Europeans until after Columbus had landed in America. They didn't know what it was. So when we look at what is a storable food as compared to a fresh and perishable food, what do we have left? You've got to go the whole winter with no support. So we have quinoa, black beans, wheat, barley, oats, potatoes, turnips, rutabagas, roughly. Carrots and parsnips, you can do. They're tough, but you can do them. So what do you cook? Cook a meal with that. For you vegan types and vegetarian types, that's fine. You know, a lot of us like meat, so what do we do? We kill a deer at harvest season, right? Because it's the biggest and fattest that they are. And we maintain that, and it's called a larder. Pheasant as well, poultry, etc. We also do the same thing in the summer. That's what they used to do. We don't do it now, but we used to. So what would the USDA say about it? Well, I can't believe you're doing that because you're holding something over a year, right? Well, but they do it all the time. Do you think your onions from the USA, grown, that you pick up in February, grown in February? No. They were last year's crop. They're storable foods. That's why we have the school lunch program. That's why we have everything we do to maintain and sustain that population with wheat, oats, barley, etc. Because it can store. Once you reach the state of chiefdom or state, you have to continue that process. And the other thing is, well, you know, I get it. You're a tribe. But you're also near other tribes. So to compound upon tribes, bands, states, and chiefdoms, if you live in a tribe, band, state, or chiefdom, depending on the size of the state, tribe, band, or chiefdom, you co-breed. So if you're in a band, you will most likely breed with somebody else. So that's how they keep the genome pool going. If not, you get inbreeding. And there are some societies that still do it today, mainly in one certain part of the world. But that's not something I'm going to talk about because it's a sensitive subject and I don't want to go there. So when we look at storing food versus states versus the bureaucracy, what is the simple answer? There isn't one. There has to be a complex answer, and Thomas Jefferson said it best. We need to have an egalitarian society full of agrarian people that manage 5 to 10 to 20 acre properties that grow their own food for themselves and for the benefit of the neighbors. We need to have a community to exchange back and forth in between, right? What do we have? Not that. Do we? Remember, He's the guy that brought the Marines back to fight on the shores of Tripoli. So for you Marines out there, you can thank Thomas Jefferson. Without him, you guys are done. You know, that's what I'm saying. We have to keep continuing the cycle. We have to keep continuing who we are, as well as what we can produce for the masses. I'm not trying to feed the world. They have their own set of edible species and plants that we can domesticate with their help. Because you have to remember, roughly only 1% of the plants and the animals on the planet are edible. 1%. What does that say? Think about it. If you have 1% of the entire earth that is actually edible and we domesticated less than 1%, it's only because we got lucky. We lived in an area where we had abundance of species that could be domesticated. That's it. And that's it. So we either spread those domesticated species on, or we find out what they can grow. Right? There's an answer. There always is. With that, I'll see you tomorrow.